ask for billions, save thousands. Good to see you again. Now that we
Good
just
to
got our.
see you. Always good to see you. I mean, it's
So, did we do our holiday episode? I think it was 2 years ago. I don't think it was last year. I think it was 2022.
no, it was two. I think it was 2 years
It was
ago.
2 years ago, right?
Yeah, my wife kindly reminded me last night that when she listened to the podcast and that I had mentioned her that I had met a girl.
Yeah, and that was
On
her.
that pod. It was her.
And now
Yes,
y'all are married.
Yes, what a ride.
Yeah. So catch me up on. I have two questions. One, that when did y'all get married from that conversation? And that, like, what was the timeline on that? Tell me about the family that you just automatically basically became a dad, overnight. And then also, I don't know if you remember at the time your sponsor had dropped you and you didn't know why. And it was really bothering you. Do you know why?
I still don't. Saw him this morning. Saw the guy this morning. We're still friends. Our relationship's been, I don't know if I would ever say restored because I don't know. It was still weird, but yeah.
Wild. No. The reason I ask is because I think it was starting to happen at that time. I have my two really good girlfriends that I've just lost from my life, and I still don't know why. And I don't handle that very well. How do you handle not knowing? How have you managed to deal with that emotionally over the past 2 years?
And not be resentful as fuck at him.
How? How?
I don't know. It's not like I did it. I mean, I turned it over to God. No, I don't know. I love and tolerance of him. I mean,
yeah, okay.
I don't think about it no more with him. You know what I mean? He's still, he's one of my closest friends still.
You've never asked?
No, I haven't.
Yeah.
And we've gone on beach trips, stayed in the same house.
Does he still have other sponsees?
Oh, yes. God, he's like the sponsee guru. I think he might have had just too many.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Also,
I don't know.
There are so many things in that situation that could change. For example, y'all are still friends. So it obviously wasn't personal. So it could have been, do you know what I mean? Like with me, I think it's harder because they dropped me from their lives. It was obviously
right. It's
personal.
What did I do? Right. Yeah. I take it personal.
I'm super offended.
I'm still super selfish. And, it could have been something with him and had nothing to do with it.
Well, that's what I mean. I think, for all you know, it could be like you were getting married and envious because maybe he doesn't have a wife, or it could be that he thought that he couldn't help you any longer with a certain issue that you kept having all these years. Like, I think with you, because you're still friends, it clearly wasn't an issue of not liking you, Matt Billions. It had to have been a recovery related concern.
Sometimes I think I do too much, and I've speculated, I ain't gonna lie, but I really, in fact, I forgot about it.
Oh no, I should have brought it up. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine because I hate to say that I've just accepted it, but I think I have.
No, that's okay. You should be there.
I know, but I didn't do anything that special, or I haven't recently. I don't remember what I might have done. You know what I mean? When it first happened, I might have been praying for the guy. I might have done all this, but here recently, I hadn't done it, and the problem's been removed. I guess it worked.
Though, maybe it is the praying thing, because I lost another really good friend who has recently come back into my life, and I even got to interview her for the show. And we didn't speak for 3 years. And at first I was devastated. I mean, she was in my wedding. She deleted pictures of me off her Instagram, and I had no idea what happened. Yeah, dude. And I had no idea what happened. So I asked her when I interviewed her, and I'll tell you what she said. But my main point is, 3 years had gone by before I heard from her again, and I didn't care anymore. I wasn't upset anymore. I was still kind of I wonder what happened, but I wasn't sad about it every day anymore. I think I just maybe hold on to things for a little bit longer than the average person, which is why I'm still sad about the other girls. But what she said was, which I think it was a little deeper than this, but what she said was, so that year for my birthday, this is so dumb. She didn't post anything on Instagram about my birthday in her story. And that's a thing that women do sometimes, or used to more. And she didn't post anything that day. And this is so embarrassing, but I got really butthurt about it because it was during COVID, my business was shut down. It was my 40th, and she's my best friend, and she normally did. And I just got really hurt, and I said something about it. And she was going through a lot, which I didn't know. She had started a divorce that became very difficult, which she was like kind of keeping secret because they're very well known in the community. So she was super stressed out. And then when I added that to her plate, she was like, done. So that's what it was. And
Right. I get
then,
that.
and then I did a month later because I figured it was that. And then, like, a month later, I was like, hey, I just need to tell you, I'm so sorry. That was so selfish of me to say that to you. I'm so sorry if I didn't show you that your friendship was valuable to me in a way that you would feel valued. I hope one day that you'll let me make amends to you in person, blah, blah, blah. And she never even answered that text, which I think also upset me. And then years later, like kind of recently, she reached out to me and asked if she could come take a class at my studio. And I said, of course. Yeah, of course. And she came in and took a class. And then she actually hired me to be a speaker at her rehab, her treatment center.
Oh, really? That's
And
cool.
that, yeah, and then that kind of got us talking again. But anyways, my point is by then it had faded. So for you, it might even just be enough time passed with the guy. Plus, you still see him and he's in your life. It's not like he stopped liking you.
Right. Yeah, I see him a couple of times a week. Like I said, he's a member of my home group, and I attend it still have the same home group. I mean, the recovery thing, and I was talking. Well, like I said, I do a lot of talking in treatments. Hell, I mean, it's fun to me now. I love doing it because somebody did that for me, right? So, but what I said the other night too is I just haven't taken my foot off the gas.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like,
And it's been
and
what, 5 years now? How long you been sober now?
February 20th of 2019.
Okay,
So
so
coming up on God willing 6 years.
okay, okay, all right. What are the things that you still do that you did when you say I haven't taken my foot off the gas? What all does that look like for you?
The biggest thing I attribute to all of this is actually being a member of a home group and
Sure, that's yeah.
participating with it. Because people, and I'm not knocking. This is just my experience, and I always say that because I like to put that out there. Because people have different ways of spirituality. They go to church, they go here, they got celebrate recovery. You got hundreds of different 12-step fellowships, AA, NA, CA, DA, you know what I mean? I find as long as you're trying to enlarge your spiritual life, you know what I mean? You have good grounds, let's say that, in staying sober. So, the home group for me and participating there, I was told to quit everything or one thing, and that thing was everything. And, I don't go to the old playgrounds. Everything that I do has to do with Alcoholics Anonymous or my work or my family, my wife. That's it. I don't, you know what I mean? It's like that old saying, you go to a barber shop too many times eventually and don't get a haircut. Eventually you're going to get a haircut.
Yeah, yeah,
You know
yeah.
what I mean?
I agree with you about the home group thing. That's what changed my life when I finally found a home group. I had to seek one out though. I want to say that. So I didn't find, so my HA Friday night, I had 18 months or something because, I didn't have a car and HA is in a nicer area. It's where the rich kids go. And I was in the poor
Really?
area.
That's
Yeah.
quite the opposite here.
Oh,
That is
really?
absolutely. Yes, it is the opposite.
Like when you go to an HA meeting out here, every girl's got like a Louis Vuitton purse. They drove there in a nice car. They still have an iPhone that they didn't
Oh
pawn.
no, that ain't in Alabama. That's not in Birmingham, Alabama. I promise you that.
So it was a while before I could go because I didn't have a car. I was in the broke area and I walked to NA meetings. That was my start. And I got so much good community from them. We're going to talk about this in the holiday stuff, but every year NA did a lot of stuff for the holiday season and I loved going. That was where I really got my start, but I didn't feel the same special connection that I would hear people talk about. And I had this weird intuition that it would happen at HA. Like I went to this one HA meeting with all the rich kids and I felt really insecure and poor because it was. And in fact, actually that girl that quit talking to me for a few years, she's like beautiful, definitely in that realm of, wealthy, whatever. And she told me that they used to kind of make fun of me because I had one red flannel shirt that I wore to every single meeting for like a year because that was all I had because it was from like the donations. She told me in a way that was like she felt bad because they got to know me later. And she was really young too. She was like 23 or something. She's a lot younger than me. And she was like, I remember you had that one shirt because I felt like they were kind of laughing at me. And later she was like, well, we were a little, but we were wrong. And, so it was a while before I could go, but I had this weird intuition that that was where I should be. And also that I would meet a guy there. I just had this weird feeling, even though they were younger than me and rich. I had this weird intuition that that's where my actual relationship was that was where the man was that I was going to meet. And that's where I met Skylar. I was right. Like years later, I had 3 years or something before I met him. But isn't that weird? Like when I went there with only like 7 months, 6 months, and I was getting rides, I was like, I think I'm going to meet the man I'm going to marry in this meeting. And I didn't even tell anyone because it was so weird, but I did. Isn't that strange?
Yeah, I never, I've never had that. I didn't know
I
that I
haven't
was gonna meet.
either.
I know. I didn't know I was gonna meet my wife from her buying a car from me. You know what I mean?
Oh, is
Like,
that how y'all met?
oh yeah, that's
Oh, that's
exactly
cool.
how we met.
I didn't know that. No, I never felt that either, honestly. It was very strange. And then, yeah, it was really weird. A lot about my marriage felt very like faded, when I look back on it. But what I started to ask you about, though, was your wife and your family. Talk to me about that. So she bought a car from you. And then when I spoke with you last, y'all had been dating for a little while. So walk me through the evolution of that relationship.
So first, she found me on Facebook. That's and inquired about a car on Facebook. That's how it started. And at first, we went out a couple of times, but I don't know. We went our separate ways for a couple of months. She reached out to me again, and then it's kind of just gone I wouldn't say baby steps, but in a way it has. So we got married at the beginning of this year in March, end of March, I think. Don't, oh God, you got to edit that because I have no idea when we did. It won't be no surprise to her
Yeah,
that I
you
don't
don't.
know.
You're not good with dates or times,
No,
or so
no,
that's
no.
okay.
I killed a lot of brain cells. You know what I mean? Like, I suffer from CRS. Can't remember shit. You know what I mean? Like, I say that all the time, actually.
That is
Especially
some.
to
That is some. That's
it's
some
true.
redneck shit. Yeah.
I've killed a lot of damn brain cells over my life. You know
Well,
what I mean?
so let me ask you this: timeline aside, then, because one of the things that you've told me since we first met, I interviewed you for the show for the first time, like a while ago, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, and one of your main character defects, you'd say, was issues with like the ladies and dating,
Oh,
and that.
absolutely.
So, how did you get through that with her to the point where you committed and got married? What was the difference?
I hate to use this cliche, like no joke, but it's the only way that I know because it wasn't. It was a higher power. You know what I mean? Like I'm still baffled sometimes, to be honest with you. I really am, and I fell in love. So I call him my son because she wants me to adopt him, and the father is not in his life, has never been in his life. I'm all he knows. He calls me daddy.
Oh,
So
wow.
I fell in love with my son. When I first met him, he was like, like a baby. You know what I mean? Like I
How
changed his
old?
diet.
Like a baby, like 6 months, 7 months?
So he just turned 4. His birthday is 2 days before mine, so it was September 11th. He turned 4. I think 18 months. I think he was
Okay.
something like that, somewhere
Oh,
around in there.
okay. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then
So that didn't freak you out that she was a single mom? You didn't care about dating a single mom?
at first it did, yes. At first it did. That was one of the reasons why like I said, when we first started dating, it did. We went our separate ways for a little while, and then we reconvened. That was one of the main reasons. Was that I was scared to death.
And listen, the reason I ask is because that's very cool to me. I was always afraid that, like, I think it's good for women to hear because it's scary to be a single mom and think like, well, like who's going to date me? You can admit that, yeah, that did freak me out. So, but it ultimately didn't because you're married and you love her son. So, how did that evolve for you? You said it is part of why y'all went your separate ways at first, and then what brought you guys back together?
I kept thinking about that child. I mean, literally, yeah. I don't like the sappy stuff, but in reality, it really is. I believe it was a God thing for sure. It was a higher power. I kept seeing that little boy and hearing his voice, and she always tells me that I love Conrad. That's his name more than her.
Do you
She
think that's
does.
true?
I mean, at the beginning, probably. I mean, I don't know. We just hit it off. He's so much fun, and I don't know. I think it stems also from always wanted to be wanted in life. You know what I mean? And now a child with unconditional love wants me. No matter he don't know anything about my background. He don't know anything. But it's an overwhelming sense of love when he runs and jumps into my arms. I don't know. I mean, still to this day, I come home from work and he yells "Daddy" and shoots off across the living room and jumps in my arms when I come home. And then he tells me, "Daddy, don't go to work." Like yeah, he's very intelligent, and he might be one of us too because he loves certain things a little too much in life. I tell him
Good
all the
thing you're
time
his
that I'm
dad
on.
then.
Yes, I tell her all the time we need to start a rehab fund instead of a college fund. I didn't have any of that, and then I also say I'm gonna save him a seat too, because he likes chocolate a little too much.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Is he like athletic? Are you going to start coaching him? Does he play t-ball? Does he do anything like that? What are his interests?
So, guess what his interest is?
Alabama
Cars.
football.
No,
Oh, okay.
cars. He loves monster trucks. He loves cars. He loves coming. So, people out there, I sell cars, and I've been at my job for a little over 7 years. And he comes and sees me at work. I take him rides in these lifted trucks, or he loves fast cars, like cars that have mufflers on it, like a 5.0 Mustang or a SS Camaro. I'll take him for rides in it. Oh, he just has a blast.
Oh,
Or a
that's so
Corvette.
cool.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's really his interest is vehicles. Like,
That's
just,
awesome.
and I didn't persuade him. He just the movie Cars, actually, to be honest with you, Lightning McQueen, and I didn't even know who the hell that was until him. I don't know children's
I'm
movies,
not
but
totally sure. That's a character in that movie Cars, right?
yes, it is Lightning
Okay.
McQueen.
Okay, okay. That's
Yeah,
really cool.
yeah. Actually, it's Owen Wilson's voice.
Oh, okay.
I've learned over the last however many years now that I've been with her, I've learned these things. Yeah, Larry the Cable Guy plays Toe Mater. He loves Toe Mater. He calls him Mater. But anyways, yeah.
That's
I've
so
spent
cool.
I've spent thousands of dollars on Cars memorabilia, but anywhere from Halloween costumes to actual these little Matchbox cars that I have spoiled that kid, and I'm gonna regret it. But I love
Well,
him.
not necessarily. And you'll start to figure it out more as he gets older. Also, okay, so let me ask you this though. Your relationship with your dad, you were very, very close to him, but y'all did a lot of drugs together. The dynamic was ultimately unhealthy, though you loved him and he loved you. So, do you worry like about, do I know how to raise a son because I didn't really see the way that I would want to be raised, or are you able to take elements from the way that he raised you? How are you navigating that?
You want to be honest with you?
Mhm. Yeah, of course.
Sorry, that was a bridge and bypass for me to think about that for a second.
Take your time.
It's
We'll
a
cut it out. We got time.
it's a couple of things. One, it's recovery. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of tolerance and patience with a child, even though I failed miserably a lot. Two, my mom was. I hear my mom, like, the things that I say, I remember her saying to me. You know what I mean? Like, he wouldn't eat this morning. He only wanted to eat chips. And I said, "Well, we got this, and this." He goes, "No, I don't want that." I said, "There's starving kids in China that would love to." My mom said that shit to me. You know what I mean? Like, I remember that because I was a picky eater, I guess. I only wanted certain things. It's a lot of my mom in me. It really is. And I don't think it was wrong.
Yeah, so you're able to parent based on what she did. So you have that as an example.
Right. And then I asked my sponsor, and the guy that dropped me as a sponsor, his
Yeah.
name's Joel. I'll put his name out there. I talked to him. I mean, literally, I have a lot of that, and I tell that to a lot of people, like when I go talk, that I have a lot of men, and all my friends are in AA, really, and that have children and that are parents. And I ask them questions. Because hell, I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing. There's not a blueprint. Like, I wish they had I think they probably do, but like how to be a parent for dummies. You know what I mean? Like, or something. I don't know.
Well, they definitely have parenting books, but if you're asking other guys, that's fine. That's fine.
Yeah. Well. I mean, what I meant is there's like not. Like a blueprint.
I know what you mean. Yeah.
Everybody does their parenting different, right? Like, my thing is, I'm not going to be a big stickler on cussing. All right, my wife, she may be on the other side because I got a potty mouth. I cuss like a sailor. I don't know, but I remember getting in trouble as a child for cussing, or would get in trouble for it. And I'm like, this is stupid. Like, it ain't, I mean, you know what I mean? Like, who gets to make that rule up? Like,
Yeah.
I know that's stupid, but that's something that I've been dealing with lately because he's been repeating things that I said. Like he looked at my wife the other night and he goes, "I didn't say shit."
Oh no.
I swear, I laughed. She grinned, but I was laughing on the inside. I was like, "Oh, that's funny." See,
So basically, you're putting it together as you go and asking questions
yes,
from men in recovery when you're not sure.
yeah.
I got it.
Pretty
Okay,
much. I
that
mean
works.
that's it. Yeah, because like you said, that's a great point. I didn't really have a role model. You know what I mean? I had a drug addict for a father. You know, I didn't have that role model, and so it's been difficult. My old friend John H. He was an old timer in the Birmingham recovery community, and he said, "What a perfect time to work your program." Or what a perfect. There was another way he said it too. Yeah. So if love and tolerance and actually work in a program of recovery, have yourself a child. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Uh-huh. For
Get in
sure.
a relationship with a single woman or a single father that has a child, and then you become a role model. And you have to, and even though some of my beliefs are different than others, I don't know. Maybe my perception will change, but I don't mind if he cusses. I don't think that's the world. I'd rather him cuss than be out there. I don't know. Biting kids and stuff. I don't know.
Yeah.
He says,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, like I said, I think obviously, you'll just kind of put it out as you go. What made you propose and how did you propose? I want to know.
it was nothing formal, I promise you. So here's what we did. No joke. She found a ring on one of them I think it was Facebook Marketplace, to be honest with you. I think a drug addict was trying to sell a ring. It was a good deal and it had all its papers and everything. We went and picked it up. I bought it and I said, "Will you marry me in my Tahoe?" No joke. That is how it is. I
Listen,
yeah.
Matt, it doesn't have to be crazy. Do you want to know how Skylar did? Skylar did it in our fucking front yard. So, like, listen to what he could have done. What he could have done was he grew up in Nantucket, right? Okay. He was like wealthy growing up. They had a home in Nantucket. We were going to Nantucket in like 3 weeks. And I had no idea he was going to ask me to marry him. In fact, we had a conversation a few months prior to this, leading me to believe we were nowhere near that point because he's a lot younger than me, right? And I was like, dude, we're nowhere near getting married, but oh well, whatever. I love him. I'm not going to make that a thing. Okay. So fine. So we were going to Nantucket with his family. And actually, my first co host, Kim, who was with me when we interviewed you for the first time,
Yeah, I remember her.
yeah,
Yeah.
I told her we were standing in the spin room, in that same room where we interviewed you years later. And I said, well, we're going to Nantucket in a few weeks. And she burst out crying. And she was like, he's going to propose. And I was like, oh, no, he's not. I love that you think that, but it's okay. He's definitely not. But thank you, Kim. That's really sweet. And she was like, he might. And I was like, I don't think so, but that's all right. So, like a week later from that moment, we were at home. And so his family, he was going to propose. His mom and sister wanted him to do it in Nantucket on the beach, and they were going to take photos. There's this beautiful lighthouse, and they were like, do it there. We'll take pictures, blah, blah, blah. And instead of doing that, which would have been fucking amazing for me to get engaged in Nantucket like some bougie bitch with
Right.
pictures,
Right.
instead of
Right.
any of that, the day he picked up the ring, he drove down to San Diego to get it. I was getting my hair done. And I told the lady that day, she was like, how's it going with your boyfriend? And I was like, I don't know. I kind of think he might want to break up with me. It doesn't feel like things are right now. Like, I just was never secure in the relationship ever, as he was driving to San Diego to pick up this ring. So I get home, he gets home, and he said, let's go get some frozen yogurt across the street. And I was like, okay. And it's across the street, but we would drive usually anyways. And he was like, let's walk today. And I was such a brat about it. It was really hot here. It was August. And I was like, I don't want to walk. I'm so fucking tired. And he was like, let's just walk. And I was like, ugh. So we walk across the street because there's like this nice fountain in our front yard. So we go to get yogurt. We come back and sit. And he's like, let's sit here for a second. And I was like, oh my God, fine. I just want to go back inside with the air conditioning. So we sit down, and he ended up asking me there on the bench, no witnesses, no photos. I mean, I'm glad, but it doesn't have to be like a whole thing, is my point. Because he told me later that why he changed his mind was he'd bought the ring, and as he was driving back up with the ring in his backpack, he was just getting really nervous about all of it. And he thought his mom and sister would blow it in Nantucket and make it obvious. He was like, she's going to know. They're going to make it obvious. I know them. They're going to fuck it up. I'm just going to do it now. And I totally disagree. His mom and sister totally would have passed that off. He should have fucking done it that way. Because everybody's got pictures except me and your wife, apparently. Everyone else has got pictures of the moment. And all that was there was this construction worker sitting out on the bench nearby. There's like some tables there. And Skylar proposed. And I was like, oh my God, yeah. And I looked and there was this guy and I was like, I'm engaged. And he was, I don't even know if he really spoke English. He was like, cool, and then kept eating his sandwich. And I was like, that's all that was there. But anyways, it doesn't have to be like a whole thing. So y'all already knew you were going to get married. You'd been talking about it. Okay.
Here's my thing on that too about pictures. All right, so we did do pictures on the beach, which was great.
Not when you propose, though. That's what I mean. We have engagement photos.
But how do you keep that a secret? Is there with people around? Like, you know what I mean?
Everyone does it. Listen, this is how you do it.
They have to know.
They don't. No, they don't.
They don't.
No, this is what you do. So say Skylar had done it. The mom and sister know. And so one day we just went to the lighthouse, right? Every day we were doing different things. And we kind of would walk off by ourselves a bit. And then you say, oh my God, look at that seal. And I look at the seal. They know it's coming. So their phones are out. When I turn around, he's on his knee. And I lose my mind. But that's how Matt, this is how everyone does it. Every one of my girlfriends, they don't know. My friend Sam just got engaged about a year ago. Her friend knew. She didn't. And they went on a walk, the two couples. And Hank told the friend ahead of time, he signals behind the back and then says, oh, look at that. They look and he does this. It's very easy, actually.
Okay. I'm not a romantic. I am not a romantic. And my wife knows that about me. And
I love Skylar. I wouldn't want it any other way. Also, Skylar doesn't do any social media, so he doesn't really know any of this. And I would rather be married to someone that does no social media than have had him. Social media. You know what I mean?
I get that. But yeah, I'm not a romantic at all. And I've had to get out of my comfort zone. It's not because I don't want to be. It's either I don't know how to be or I'm not comfortable doing it, honestly. That's probably one part of the relationship I could put in a more, more effort into,
Yeah. So let's get to, now, of course, we always do this. We're 47 minutes in. Also, do you remember last time I interviewed you, we couldn't get the audio working for like an hour? So we started an hour late.
Yes, I do remember that, actually. I had flashbacks, a little PTSD about that when I was waiting on you to
That was horrible. That was like I was like almost crying.
I know.
By the time we got the audio to work.
Yeah, it was literally an hour. It was an hour later. Yeah,
it was an hour.
I met Skylar. Yeah, I remember him.
Skylar had to come fix it. I was freaking out.
I remember that.
And finally, he came in and was like, "Hey, man, heard a lot about you. All right, blah 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 blah." And he fixed the audio somehow. I was like, "Oh, thank God."
I don't remember how he fixed it, but I do remember that
he didn't plan the engagement on Nantucket, but he can do things like fix the audio for my show, which is actually much more important. So there
it is. Right?
There you go.
You know. And even our wedding, when we had our wedding was in a park. Only people that were there, my mother came. I didn't even tell my own brother hardly. It's not.
But he went to the wedding.
No.
Oh.
No. It was literally my sponsor, who is an ordained minister. He married us. Conrad, my wife, my mom, and me. There was five people there.
Did your brother care or he didn't care? Was he mad?
I don't know. I never talked to him about it.
Okay. Matt, God damn. This is like the most southern, southern men thing ever. Of course you never talked about it. Are y'all close?
Oh, God, yes. Well, we have been, and yeah, that's a whole nother animal.
All right. Okay. So let's do what we scheduled to do, which is talk about the holidays. So, and of course that I was talking to you for way too long, but we wanted to share how we stay sober around the holidays. This will come out during December. And so we maybe got some stories from the holidays. I've got a fucking crazy one. So I can start with mine if you want. Okay. So This happened in December or January of 2011, 12. I'm not sure exactly when it was. This is wild. I've actually never told this story, and I don't know why. There's no particular reason. But so my connect really trusted me. And I wasn't a crazy, horrible user yet. I mean, I was a daily user, but it was in the early stages of me being strung out on heroin. I was like a $20 a day user. I had a job. I was teaching, making a lot of money. I never didn't pay him. And I'd never been arrested. I had no record. Actually, that's not true. I'd gotten arrested for a DUI, but like, in our world, that feels very unrelated, right? It was a couple years prior, and,
Yeah, it wasn't a felony.
yeah, it wasn't a felony. It was a .08. I almost got a wet reckless instead. I'd finished all my shit, whatever. So he trusted me. We were friends. He's actually the guy that ends up getting me sober later in the hotel room when he says, what am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to do? I have to fake this blood test. And he says, you can get clean. That's him. So,
Okay, I've heard that.
yeah, that's him. So obviously, before he's clean, the police were definitely stalking him, his house. He was bringing people back from Mexico every day with dope. He was a big connect in the area. He was like a big time dealer, and he knew he was being watched. We'd see him outside across the street. There was a big field, and they had a camper set up, and they were watching his place. But he was just like really deep in it. You know what I mean? He was strung out. Everyone, he knew it was coming any day. So what he decided to do was give me the bulk of the dope. So if he got raided, there would only be half an ounce instead of an ounce or whatever. There would only be so, and then every day I would bring him a couple of grams to sell to people or however much he wanted. And he trusted me to hold it and not do it. So I went over there and he gave me, I don't remember the exact measurement, but it was a chunk of heroin that was like, if y'all are just listening, I'm going to do my hands to show Matt. It was a triangle shape and it was about that big. Okay. It's almost the size of like my nose and mouth. It was about that big. It was big and like an inch thick, and a black tar heroin and a gun and a little safe with some cash in it. And so I went over to his house and he wanted the gun out of the house and the dope. And again, I had no record. I was not on the police radar at all. I'm this girl you see sitting in front of me. I looked completely fine. I was teaching at high-end resorts, right? So he thought it would be better at my house, which I never got raided. So he wasn't necessarily wrong, right? And so I was terrified, though, to be driving around with this thing. And I wanted to bring it out I was headed out to my boyfriend's house at the time. And I decided to put this chunk of heroin inside me because I didn't want it in the car. So,
Holy shit.
yeah. So I managed to get it in me, which wasn't easy, but you can have babies. Like the thing, it's
Yeah, no,
so
no.
I got it in, and I'd never done anything like this before, right? So I got it in, and the gun is just in the car, which is scary, but I guess I was less concerned about that. I don't know. So I get in my car, my Jeep, and I drive out to my boyfriend's house, who's fully strung out. He's shady as fuck. I wasn't even supposed to tell him any of this was happening, and I wasn't going to because he would have stolen the whole thing, right? So I drive out to his house, and he's actually dope sick too. And I get out there, he's dope sick, and I have a giant piece of heroin inside me. And so finally, at some point, I tell him, I'm like, so I wasn't supposed to tell you this, but so-and-so gave me basically his whole stash to hold because he thinks he's going to get raided any day. And my ex was like, give me it right now. And I was like, it's like in me, dude. And he was like, go get it. So I went in the bathroom and I couldn't get it out. I couldn't get it out.
Oh shit.
And so then I start crying and panicking, and I go out in the room, and because it was just wrapped in like a Kroger bag, like, you know what I mean? And I'm like, what if I die? Like, I mean, it was like plastic wrap, but it wasn't heavily sealed. And so I go back out and I'm like, I can't get it out. I can't get it out. I'm going to have to go to the hospital, and then I'm going to go to jail. And I'm crying. And he's like, you're going to get that shit out. You're going to get it out now. And I was like, I don't know how. And he was like, okay, you need to go in that bathroom and give birth to it like you're having a baby, because you can get it out. It's not as big as a baby. And I was like, I've never had a baby. I don't know how to give birth. And he was like, you're a woman. You have an instinct to give birth to that fucking heroin. That's your baby heroin, and I need it. Go in that bathroom and give birth to it. And I was like, I don't know how. And he was like, go. So I go in the bathroom, and he's outside the door, and I'm sitting on the toilet, and he was like, coaching me through like it was a baby. And he's like, just breathe. And he's like, I'm doing like Lamaze class breathing, because I've seen it on like TV, like that, you know what I mean? Like when you breathe. And he's like, push it out like it's a tampon. Like if you had a tampon in and you had to push it out. I know you have an instinct for this. And I literally like closed my eyes and pretended it was a baby. And I did have this weird woman instinct that, though I've never been pregnant and given birth, I like imagined myself giving birth to a baby, and I was able to push it out, and it dropped in the toilet.
Wow. That's pretty intense.
I wish y'all could see Matt's face. And so the reason I thought I would share this is it was like a Christmas miracle. It was like the baby Jesus heroin. Is that awful? And I thought I got one story left from around December. I remember it was cold. There was Christmas lights out. And that was my baby Jesus miracle story. That was like the immaculate conception of a heroin baby. Isn't that insane?
See, like I was talking about earlier, you can't go tell that story to a normal person that has
Fuck
no
no.
experience
Fuck
with
no.
drugs and alcohol, and actually like think this woman needs to be locked up in a psych ward. You know what I mean? Like that's why I hang out with my people. We have a common bond, you know.
But can't you just imagine being dope sick and your girlfriend shows up and like he loved me. He wasn't. Yeah. You would have got it out of me.
I would have pulled it out myself.
Never mind. That's what I'm saying. No. He said that. He was like, I'll fucking get it myself. I'll grab it.
Absolutely. Oh,
you know?
Yeah. When I'm in that state of mind.
Yeah. And he'd been sick for hours. He was bad sick, eyes running, sneezing, sick, no money. He was bad sick by the time I got there. And I had a quarter ounce. Right, exactly.
I'd have got some tongs, and I'd have got that son of a bitch out.
Right. That's what I'm saying. And so that's why he was like, you know, and I was well. I'd gotten well at the guy's house. You know, I had my shit that was gone. And then.
So what happened? What happened? I'm sure y'all used up his supply and never gave him the money. Oh
no!
Did he know that? Okay. See, I've done that.
Right. No.
Anytime anybody loaned me anything like that,
sure,
I use it. Yeah.
So later in life, I would not have been someone to be trusted. But at that time, I had only been strung out. I had started using in like July of that year, and now it's December. So I had only been strung out for a short time and was only smoking. I was not shooting, and I still had all my jobs. I was gainfully employed, and I did not. Now, my ex took more than he should have, but it wasn't a lot. Like he pulled he pulled a 20 piece off or something, and then I put it back in my car, locked it, and hid the keys because I also didn't want to lose my access to this shit. And I think he had told me that, I mean, it's wild now how much he trusted me, but again, he wasn't wrong, right? Like, I think he told me I could take like a 20 off a day and pay him, you know what I mean? And like, you know, maybe I got to pay him a little bit less because I was taking all the risk, but no, I did not end up, we didn't rip him off. You know, I stayed at what's his face's that night. We didn't live together. And then the next day I went back home and I hid it in my house, and I did take off about the right amount every day. And, you know, and then after that, we didn't continue doing that though. And I don't totally remember why, but it was just kind of a pain. We didn't keep doing that. And he did get busted in like March. So pretty soon after that, he got raided in the middle of the night, and he went to prison for like 18 months. And when he got out, that's when I was really fucked up. He's also the same guy whose house I stayed at. You know, the robbery charge I had when I stole the makeup and I was running away. It was his hotel room that I went back to that night. And he was clean.
I remember a bicycle.
Yeah, my bicycle. I hid it. I hid it in the bushes.
Yeah. I was about to say, I remember a bicycle in that story.
I hid it in the bushes. And when I got out of jail 3 days later, my mom took me she wouldn't let me go to her house, but she said, "Where can I take you?" And she took me to Brooke, is his name. He wouldn't care. She took me to Brooke's motel room. He was on parole. He'd been out for like 2 weeks staying at a Motel 6 room. And she brought me to his room, kicking dope. And he was like, "You can't fucking be here." And I was like, "I'm sick, I'm clean, whatever." And he did actually acquire me a Suboxone. And then the next day, he took me to get my bike. And then I kept using. But after that, he got me into that sober living. He is the one that ultimately got me clean later. So maybe it's a good thing I didn't rip him off, because he saves my life later. Because he stays clean. Like when he gets out after the 18 months, I think he used for like 2 days and then never again. I mean, he has 12 years now. He's married, has a
Oh,
kid, you know.
wow.
Yeah, he stays clean.
That's cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Isn't that crazy though? So that was the immaculate conception of the baby heroin story.
So, as we were leading up to this podcast today, I have been thinking what stories that I could tell. And then, of course, I don't know if you do this or look at this or not on Facebook. You know, you always get reminded of terrible memory photos and stuff like that. So, I was actually in culinary school, going to a methadone clinic, and I was drinking with the methadone. Anyways,
How old were you?
oh, this was in 2010, 2011. So,
28, 29?
yeah. See,
Okay.
you're a math girl. I'm not. Golly, that's yeah. So, and anyways, my mom's side of the family, we always go over to her side for the Thanksgiving and whatnot. And anyways, and we always take this photo. Right, it's my brother and me on one side. I got a. This is the picture that I got reminded of not too long, like yesterday. I got a margarita glass in my hand, and my cousin is in the background here. And you know, we take this photo. All right, I get sober, and we remake these photos. This was like 2 years ago, so you know, I was about, I guess, what, 3 years sober or whatever. We remake this photo, and the story that I got is not really of any kind of shit show that went on, like, but it's just there was a recreation of that photo, and I thought that was just one of the coolest things, because my stories that I have on Thanksgiving and Christmas or any of the holidays when I was drinking and drugging, I wasn't around. I didn't cause. I mean, of course, I probably caused harm with my mom because I wasn't around, but I didn't do anything that was abnormal. I lived a drug addict's life every day. You know what I mean? But that photo that was reminding me of is how far that this recovery process has brought me from. I mean, it was way before that first photo, but I don't know why I'm even telling this story.
Well, it shows that things can change.
It can, but that photo just, I don't know. And instead of the margarita glass, I had a water bottle in my hand.
Oh, that's awesome.
I was clever enough to do that. But
Yeah.
you know, but if it wasn't for recovery, I wouldn't be at a Thanksgiving. Like tomorrow, we're going to my brother's house, and I'm going to be present for this Thanksgiving. You know what I mean? Like, and you ask, you know, what do I do during the holidays now to stay stopped drinking and drugs? Because that's the deal now, is how to stay stopped, right? And it's a lot of helping others. I mean, that's cliche too, but it works. I mean, as many treatment, like I've talked about earlier, all the treatment facilities I have gone and spoken, the guys that I sponsor, the amount of meetings that I participate every day. You know, I wake up every day and I'm still a drug addict and I'm still an alcoholic, and I still, you know what I mean? I have to rinse and repeat. You know what I mean? Like, that's how I've been able to stay stopped, is being in the middle of recovery. You know, yes, I have a job. Yes, I have a wife and son, but it's been a lot of self-sacrificing, and I wouldn't have been able to be in that picture, you know, to kind of make it, wasn't making an amends, but it was recreating, because I had been recreated into, I believe, into a person who no longer pours liquor down my throat and shoots heroin. I don't know. It's just, I owe I owe AA and I owe a higher power everything, you know. I get to be a present son now. But yeah, the stories, I lived a drug addict's life. You know what I mean? Like, I wasn't present, or if I was present, I was high. And I don't know if I have, like, just killed those brain cells or what, but I just really can't remember any certain, you know what I mean? Certain things that happen. I remember during a Christmas, my mom coming and crying beside me. I was laying on the couch, dope sick, and she wanted me to open the present she had bought me. And I was so dope sick, I couldn't even open the fucking presents. And she just sat there beside me and just cried, and God willing, that doesn't happen again this year, So, I mean,
Were you ever in jail on Christmas Day or on Thanksgiving Day?
no, but I was on Thanksgiving though.
Okay,
Ah, yes, the
tell me
90
about
days.
that.
That yeah, they give you this sliced fucking turkey that's nasty as hell. I mean, it ain't even like what's it called? It's like deli meat. It's deli
Okay.
turkey. Yeah,
Okay.
and a cookie. I do remember that because I was working. It was funny. I was actually working in the kitchen. I'd gotten to be a trustee. I was first shift kitchen, so we got up at 3 o'clock in the morning and made breakfast and we did lunch and we got off at 1. I'll never forget it. But it got me out of the cell, right? So yes, I had to spend Thanksgiving of 2008 in county jail. And remember, one of the times you interviewed me, I said we had conjugal visits, but that was wrong. It was just face to face visits
Yeah,
with
yeah,
my
yeah.
with
You
my. You
accidentally
remember?
called it. You.
Yes, because
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
didn't know. I listened to that podcast the other day and I heard me say it, and I was like, "What an idiot." But anyways, my parents and my brother got to come see me in jail, and they came and saw me on Thanksgiving.
Oh, they
So
did. Okay.
yeah, it got worked out somehow that if you were a trustee, you had family that was willing and could come see you, that didn't have a warrant or whatever.
Yeah. Let me ask you this, and you may not remember, but on Thanksgiving Day, being in jail, walking out to the little room where you see your family, and then you walk back to the cell. Do you remember what you were thinking in that moment? You had to have been so devastated about your life, right?
I was devastated the whole entire time I was in there about my life. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I was actually still coming off methadone. So I was, when you come off methadone for being on it for so long, it takes a while to get out of your system. And I remember this. I remember my dad, he was strung out and he was about this big around. I mean,
Okay.
yeah, and my mom and dad had already divorced then, but they both came and saw me on this particular visit. He was about to go to treatment at a downtown rescue mission in Nashville, Tennessee. I remember that, and I remember the conversation in this little ass room being very awkward. I don't remember what all was said, but I remember one parent was on this, and my mom and brother was on this side, and I remember apologizing a lot. I do remember that. I don't want this to happen, or I probably said this ain't gonna ever happen again, even though it did. But I remember bits and pieces about that. But I was still pretty, or I won't say pretty dope sick, but I was still not feeling
Like sick. You're
up
not
to
100.
yeah, I wasn't feeling up to par. Let me just say that because yeah,
But then think about the transformation of you being able to recreate the picture. There you go.
that right there was really cool. I didn't realize in the moment when we recreated it how cool day or years later after it happened, and it really, I hate this saying too in AA, but it's so true. I hate all the stuff that is all cliche and corny, but it really is true. That attitude of gratitude, even though gratitude really isn't mentioned in the beginning of everybody says is the form of recovery program of recovery, the first 164 pages. Gratitude is not a name that's written in it. However, it does say count your blessings, and I do that a lot. You know what I mean? Because everything that I have in my life now, me building this house, me having a wife and a son, me being a son again, me being a brother again, me being an uncle again, me having a career, any of the stuff that is good in my life now is because of that higher power and because of Alcoholics Anonymous. It really is. And yes, I had to do a lot of self sacrifice. That's why I'm saying I don't take my foot off the gas because I am very involved in it. I mean, I have to be. I have to be. I just find out if I'm not, then I don't know how to live life sober and I'm doing stupid shit. And when I mean stupid shit, I'm talking about I'd probably be cheating on my wife, or I'm just saying things. You know what I mean? I would be doing things. Yeah, I would be away from the drugs and alcohol, but that's for only for a short period of time before suddenly that thought crosses my mind, like it says in the big book, the whiskey and the milk is a good idea. You know what I mean? There's only a certain allotted amount of time that I have. If I stop doing the things, the action based things that I do in my recovery before I'm back at the dope man's house.
Absolutely.
In early recovery, I lived at a halfway house, right? So, I mean, I was for real. I was pretty safe. I wouldn't say safe and protected, but I was safe. You know what I mean? But we had to go to a meeting every day, and I did, and I still go to meetings regularly, and especially during the holiday season. I don't treat. I mean, I do everything I do in the holiday season 365. You know what I mean? That's another way why I say that I don't take my foot off the gas because I don't stop doing what I do. You know?
Yeah, yeah. So, how long did you live in sober living in the beginning? You were in there like a year, right?
Which time? This last time?
This
Okay,
time.
this time I stayed 8 months in sober living, but I also went into their 3/4. It's called phase 4. You move off campus and you go live in an apartment. You still have a sober roommate, but you're not on campus, and you check in with the sober living once a week for a meeting and a drug test.
Oh, good.
So
Okay. Okay. Cool.
but
Okay.
people go to phase 4 and stop doing what they were doing at the halfway house and white knuckling, and then they're back high and drunk again, and then they're kicked out of phase 4 back in phase 1. You know, it's just that revolving. I've done that. I know what that's like, right? Yeah.
I did a lot of too for me in the first probably 3 years, I'd say. I did meeting marathons too on Thanksgiving Day, on Christmas Day, because NA around here is really fun too. Like,
Yeah. Oh, I got a meeting in the morning in Huntsville where I'm gonna travel to stay with my mom tonight. I got a meeting in the morning I can't wait to go to. I'm gonna get to see friends. You
oh,
know
on
what I mean?
Thanksgiving Day. Oh,
Oh
nice.
yeah, Thanksgiving
Oh,
morning. There's there
cool.
yeah.
Okay.
So
When we record tomorrow's Thanksgiving, y'all won't hear it till December. But so you're gonna go to that meeting, and then what are y'all's plans for Thanksgiving?
very simple, and I love it. So usually during this time for the last 3 years, we've gone to Gatlinburg, and I've been in the mountains. So we would get Cracker Barrel. Cracker Barrel does a Thanksgiving spread where you don't have to cook nothing. They cook it all and the sides and everything. So we're doing that exact same thing tomorrow. And yeah, I mean,
We're doing
it's
that
good.
too. We're picking up. We ordered like a turkey and a couple of sides from a grocery store out here. We're going to go pick him up tomorrow, and it's just me and him. We're not traveling. I told his family, and I told him, cuz Skylar now has September, October, November. He's got almost 15 months.
I about to say,
And
one of the last podcasts I listened to, he had just celebrated a year. I went kind of
yeah.
farther, or a couple of
Yeah.
months ago, listening to stuff. So
And anytime he goes home, he would use. And I just said, like, yes. And I'm like, we cannot do that anymore. I've been really honest with his family. And they never knew, right? He would use like the last day, or they weren't sure, So, like, it's not their fault. But like every time he went up there, just the memories of being home.
yeah, no, I
And
get it.
yeah, so I finally was like, this time, because we were like separated, right? When this time I was like, gonna probably divorce him. It was really, 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 really bad. This time he was using for like a year and a half. And I was like, for you to come back, there are a couple of things that have to happen. You need to be on Vivitrol for 2 years. And then also, we are not going home to San Francisco for years. Ideally, never again. They can come here. We don't need to go there because you almost fucking die every time. So we're not going anywhere this year. We're just going to stay here, just me and him and the dog. And I'm really looking forward to it. It's going to be great.
I'm glad you brought that up because, like I was saying about the self-sacrificing thing, I remember when I was at the halfway house, couple months sober, and we get all these good ideas when we first get sober, right? Like, I need to go here, I need to go there, even though I hadn't seen my family for real, and I don't know how many years, but I need to spend it. I'm sober now. I need to spend a Thanksgiving with them, and I remember the director of the halfway house was like, some of y'all asses don't need to go back home. Miss this first one, and then you have the rest of your life. Like that
Totally.
self-sacrifice, not go
Totally.
home, not go home because of the old behaviors and the ideas and all of that stuff that
Yep.
surrounds where you drink and drug. You know what I
Yep.
mean?
And I think some people need to miss the first, not just first one, the first three, the first
I
five.
mean,
Skylar
sure.
needs to not
I
go
mean,
home for years, in my opinion.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, absolutely. And even though, truth be told, that's not the end all be all. all because that does help, right? Like that geographical change, you know what I mean? Like we move somewhere and think that our asses ain't gonna follow us. You know what I
Right.
mean? Because
Right.
you can get high in a
Right.
ditch.
But you know what I mean for holidays. Holidays tend to set off old triggers.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I got this morbid reflection that I can do still. You know what
Okay.
I mean? And
Yeah.
if I'm not being watched sometime, I mean, not now, but if I'm newly sober and if I'm not being watched or have some kind of accountability, even though it's not going to 100% stop me, like, you know what I mean? Unless I get arrested, that's the only way anybody's going to stop me. If it's like you take me and put me in jail and throw away the key, right? Because I'm going to figure out a way to get high. My mom can try to watch me, my wife can try to watch me, but if I want to get high, I'm gonna get high. There ain't nothing you can do. So, anyways, no, the things like you were saying, yeah, a plan of not to go here and there in order for to whatever helps. I need all the help I can get. I say that all the time. I need all the help I can get. I really do. I know I am a real deal drug addict and alcoholic. Like I know, and it took a
Well,
long time to realize.
yeah, you and me both, brother. Well, Matt, thank you so much. We ended up going for much
No,
longer
thank you.
than I thought we would, but it's always good to check in with you and see your
Absolutely,
face
I
again.
appreciate you. I know I shaved. I got in a fight with a razor. My wife hates it. Yeah, I usually have a beard, and I think you know that. But yeah, I got in a fight with a razor. I was sleepy as hell Saturday morning. I went "Grr,"
Oh
and screwed it all up.
no. I so wait, your wife prefers you to have facial hair, is what you're saying.
Hell yeah, hell
I do
yeah.
too with Skylar. I hate when he shaves when it's hot and he's going down, he's working pouring concrete on the roofs and it will get itchy and so he'll shave his face. I hate it. I also super prefer facial hair and a beard. I'm the same.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the same.
She's the same way.
Yeah,
She's the same
yeah.
way.
That's interesting because some people feel the exact opposite of that, you know?
I know,
Like
but no,
my
she.
dad always had facial hair and his wife doesn't like it. And so like anytime it was like for my wedding or something nice, she'd always be like, "Mark, you better shave." And I wanted to be like, "No, don't." Whatever. I
Oh,
guess
mine grows back. I mean, this happened Saturday, and I already
it's
got
already back. Yeah, yeah,
it's coming back. So,
yeah.
well,
Well,
thank
thank
you for
you.
having me.
Yeah, man.
Absolutely.
Thank you
Hey,
so
and
much.
seriously, next time you talk to Edwin McCain, tell him you have a huge fan in Alabama,
I will.
in Birmingham, Alabama.
I will. I totally will. I totally will. And y'all have a
That's
very
cool.
good Thanksgiving. I'm sure I'll talk to you before
Y'all do the
Christmas.
same.
All right.
Absolutely, you will.
All right. Thanks, Matt.
Thank you.